Yo, what's up guys, it's Talon, and today we're going to be talking about how to play support after the lane phase. So we're going to start in this game basically right after lane phase ends, when we're taking the turret and when the objective is spawning. So the first thing that you want to understand right around this timer, around 30 seconds, is you have two options. You can recall, or you can use this time to get some type of value. So as a support, recalling is not quite as important as other lanes who definitely want to reset around 30 seconds before the objective. So in this case, you see that I actually stay up to get vision, stop the enemy recall, and give us overall a lot of control over the objective. We warded the dragon, we warded over the wall there, and we just overall take control of the bush so the enemy can't really walk in. Now in this case, you see the enemy end up going towards Herald, and so we decide to lantern our teammate and see if we can maybe kind of poke them off Herald. You're going to see this is going to be a little bit greedy because our Darius, our jungler, does not come. And once we see him not coming, we probably should just back off. But you see here, my team does go pretty far forward, and so we end up trying to just tank the Morgana Q. Because if I die at this point, and again, choice wasn't ideal because our jungler didn't come, so we probably shouldn't have done this. But at this point, if I die, it's not as important as a different teammate dying due to the fact that they can farm gold. Like, obviously, I'm not going to really want to stay up and get as much gold, but if my teammate's dead, he has 20 seconds where he can't farm anything, and he loses out on gold. So instead, keeping him alive there is slightly more beneficial, but again, overall, you'd probably prefer to just take one objective, and then I could have just gone with my Darius and kind of played to facilitate him more. Irregardless, going into, again, main points of the kind of mid-game, once that first objective's taken, again, you ideally either reset, spent your gold, and then came to the objective, or you got early vision around it like I did there. You're often going to be hovering around mid lane, but you're really going to be hovering around wherever you have kind of a stronger member. So in this case, my jungler is kind of my stronger person in this game. And so I can't really like hover him as he's farming his camps. And so a lot of times I'm just going to take some level of control over mid, try to help my teammates out around there, look for picks. And then when my jungler decides to kind of make a play, we look with him. In this case, again, we just look for picks around the mid lane. Once again, we're just tanking the abilities. We just wanted to walk in front to tank the Viego W there. Because obviously, again, it hitting me, the tank, is not as important. That's kind of part of my job, is to block certain spells like that or distract the enemy, because obviously I'm a target that's not very easy to kill. And so if the Riven does decide to target me like he does here, again, it's going to be a very negative situation for him. Even if he did end up killing me, it's going to be very beneficial. So in the mid game, again, you're often going to find yourself hovering in the mid lane, but also trying to play around your stronger members when you can. So if you have, say, a really strong top laner, say my Garen was super fed, maybe we end up playing around that turret. And then in general in the mid game, you also want to play for outer turrets that aren't yet taken. So if the tier 1 turret of your lane's taken, it's often best to, again, hover somewhere else, look for picks around there, and give your team a chance to get, you know, the turrets and whatnot around there. Likewise, protecting turrets is also important. So protecting turrets around your duo lane, if your duo lane turret's still up, or whatever. You know, so basically the turrets become your main priority, and if you really don't know where to go, where to be, and you don't have anywhere else, you're going to be hovering mid. So you can see kind of this entire mid game we have been hovering mid lane because we haven't had a whole lot of specific things to do, because we can't really get gold in the bot lane, and again, we just haven't had a chance to make many plays in the top lane. I would say, you know, in hindsight, maybe we could have tried once or twice to be topside, or at least we could have hovered the topside bush instead of hovering the bot side bush. So that's some stuff that you can see kind of could have gone potentially better in the mid game. But basically your goal, again, just get the turrets, play around your stronger member, and you're mostly going to be happy, you know, with that, if that's how it is. So once again, we're just kind of hovering here, making sure if any of our teammates do overextend, we're definitely playing around that, and we want to try to help our teammates get on the waves right away. So you can see the waves coming here. I'm walking with my teammate to the wave, whereas you can see the enemy support was not. And that's the main reason that Varus ends up losing his flash there, is because the enemy support's not hovering there, meanwhile I am. So just you can see the level of control that we're taking as a support is leading to my teammate being in a pretty good spot to get the wave pushed and whatnot. And obviously I'm fine with, you know, kind of using random spells, because if I, or like using Protobelt, for example, or something, because if I do die around the mid, it's not the end of the world because the objective wasn't spawning for a while, so my death timer would be lower than the objective spawn timer. And when that's the case, you can be more aggressive for plays. And then you just need to make sure you've reset in time for the objective. You spend your gold, get your mana back, your health back, and you're going to be chilling. Again, you see we get a really good reset, so we have about 10 seconds once we get to the objective to actually set up around it. Maybe more like 5, but you know, we have some level of time to set up around the objective and kind of make a play around there if we need to. Now in this case, the enemy end up just chasing our Garen instead. so we can, kind of just go straight to mid and play for that push. But getting that kind of aggressive play around the mid so that we can, again, make plays for like this turret, for example. Now, in this case, my teammates don't end up wanting to get it, so we don't. But just hovering the mid, giving our team prio. We don't necessarily need to be hitting the objective. I see a lot of tank support players, especially in lower ranks, they'll just hit the objective for no reason. All I'm doing is just giving my team positioning. Like, it's not even, again, this entire mid game, you've seen me not leave the mid lane for quite a while. And again, that's because we've had the outer turrets taken for a while. Obviously, again, the top turret wasn't taken for a little bit, but it's a Garen. We can kind of leave a Garen on his own. And then I just use the mid prio to constantly, help my team out. Even here, I see my teammate looking for a pick, and so all I'm doing is just hovering in a way where I can protect him. I can give him the lantern. Now, he goes pretty deep here, so he does end up dying. But again, you just see all we're doing. We use the fact that we have mid pushed to then go in through more aggressive routes. We can go in through their jungle here, for example. And then it also means that we have control of mid, which means my Lucian for free gets that turret. And even though my Darius did die, he got a kill out of it. We were there again to lantern him out if he wanted to get out. And we pretty much just constantly have control of the bush areas of the mid waves. Because ultimately the game revolves around jungle and the mid waves. Like, these are what allow you to pretty much do everything. Like, in terms of player, like, the jungler kind of dictates the pace of the game in a lot of ways. But the mid wave is really what having control of allows you to, like, make plays. Like, if you have mid wave pushed, you can go into any part of the map. You can go in through the enemy jungle. You can go in, obviously, through your bushes. You can go wherever and get a lot of control. So constantly you see, again, I'm just hovering on the mid waves. This is when I show myself, is during the mid waves. Then in between the mid waves is when I'm looking for picks or when I'm looking for vision, stuff like that. Obviously using my lantern if I see, fit. But again, we basically just help our teammates go on the mid wave. Like, it's a very, very simple thing. You've seen pretty much just 3 or probably 5 minutes at this point of me just doing the same thing and just constantly allowing my team to be pushed up. All it does is, again, the enemy have nowhere really to walk. I have my lantern to pick, like, to help my teammate. If you're playing an enchanter, you have whatever enchanter spells. If you're playing Braum, whoever, you have ways to protect your teammate on the mid wave. Even if you're an engaged support, you can Alistar second ability them away, for example. And then again, you just help your teammate walk here. Like, it's just a continuous cycle of the same thing. And then as soon as the enemy end up overextending or doing something dumb, we use that opportunity to pick them off. So here, for example, multiple of the enemies showed on bot side. So I was happy to kind of force a play around here. It didn't matter if I died. And again, I'm very tanky, so it's hard for me to die. But this play largely happens because we notice we can be more aggressive because the enemy finally overextends somewhere. So we're just constantly getting mid control. And then once we see, with that mid control that the enemy have done anything wrong with their resources, whether it's put too many people bot side or just whatever it is, maybe one person gets caught and dies, we're able to use that to just get complete control, to force a fight with good numbers. And then we obviously use that to get the Baron. And so now we have Baron here. And once we're with Baron, usually we want to just play for whatever outer turrets are easiest to kill. So here, we already have their bottom lane inhib. I should probably be hovering the top side river, because we want to play for top mid, not through bot side. So this is a bit of a mistake by me. But you can see we're still mostly hovering around the mid, and that's mostly what we care about. And then I just want to go on to the minion to get some poke onto the Braum. And we're pretty much just looking for some type of pick around these mid waves. Again, it's just about the mid prio ultimately. And as a support, since you don't have to be in any one lane, you can use your body to keep lanes pushed. And again, if we were very behind, it'd be different, right? If we're super, super behind, oftentimes then we're going to play more for picks on the side lane, play away from the enemy, not over group. But in a game like this, it makes sense to group a lot because we're relatively strong, allows us to find easy picks and whatnot. And then we just can easily rotate. You see someone gets caught on top side, we have easy access to rotate. That was a weird Garen interaction, by the way. We didn't need to rotate here because he ends up getting him, but we have easy access into rotating to either side because we have control of mid, which means I can always get there before Braum. Like, pretty much everything that's happened throughout this entire game, I've been able to react before Braum can react because he just doesn't have any control over anything, due to the fact that we're just constantly on the mid wave first. And Braum could easily be using his shield to help his teammate get prio on the mid wave, but he's not really concerned with that. And because of that, we're very, very easily able to, again, just end up making good plays here. Now here we do end up getting caught a little bit over aggressive. But even in these types of situations, my team had enough control to get the bot pushed out, get the mid pushed out. We have top push, so the enemy can't punish us very hard. Obviously, there's no Baron up, and we got Dragon out of it. So I shouldn't have died there. Could have backed off quicker, but because we have the control of every wave, because obviously we've already gotten the objectives with all the pressure we've drawn. It doesn't really matter, even though it's a negative play overall. And that's, again, kind of the main gist of this video, is just showing you guys a very simple way to win a game that, like, we weren't ahead a million gold. You know, we were ahead this game, but it was a pretty close game throughout, and yet we constantly had control over the game. You could see there was never really a time where the enemy were the ones making the plays, and that's largely what you want to do as an engaged support, is you want to create the plays through mid prio or through control of some lane. So again, if it was just my ADC who was super fed and he didn't come mid lane ever, I don't know what Syndra was doing, but somehow this killed. But if they're making the plays and they're constantly going through bot wave, then you're going to be hovering the bot wave, giving them control of bot wave, and then using the bot wave control to go make a play somewhere else. It's just constantly about lane prio. Every time there's a wave up, you see I'm the first on it. Now, at times you could also hover out of vision if you wanted. You don't have to show yourself like I do here. I could, for example, hide in the bush and just be there to make a surprise play on the enemy. Something I definitely could utilize more. But when they have Braum, they have Morgana, it's not as effective, but it's still, you know, something to definitely keep in mind and that you can do. So yeah, just basically, again, that mid control, using that in different ways. And again, watching my gameplay, like, I would say support is a role I don't play as much, you know, as I used to. Like, I used to play it a lot. And I'm definitely, you know, seeing some things that I wanna work on as well, like using vision better. I think I could potentially take sweepers, possibly, in order to get control of bushes, like in the mid game, because you can see a lot of times when I'm wanting to get control of a bush, if I have sweeper, I can make sure the enemy don't know that I'm there, and I can utilize my support passive where you can one-shot the wards later on in the game. So honestly, I'm thinking sweeper could be something I try taking, you know, past the 11-minute mark. Wards are definitely very valuable as well, but it's something to think about. And then here I'm just helping my teammates hit it because their jungler is dead, so I don't need to zone. Otherwise, I would zone around the Baron, make sure the enemy can't get it or whatever. But yeah, you can see it's kind of pretty straightforward at this point. We get the Baron. We just control mid wave once again, help our teammates push, and it's pretty straightforward. The other thing about grouping mid a lot is, again, you don't really want to be doing this if you're super behind or if you get outscaled really hard. Sometimes, like, if you get outscaled, you're going to need to push and play around turrets a bit, you know, more effectively. You're going to need to be a bit more concerned with snowballing, and we'll definitely make videos about that. You know, we're about 74 marks right now, so obviously we still have a while to sovereign, and I'll make videos about different types of things you can do as support in different types of games. But this is, again, the type of game where things going relatively smooth, a little bit ahead, but nothing crazy, and you just want to make sure that you continue to push your lead slowly but effectively. And as long as you're getting that prio, you use that prio to make some plays. You look for picks, you fish for hooks, and eventually, you know, you're going to find one, and you use that to get a kill. It's pretty much how it goes. Lucian ends up being in a pretty interesting spot, so we do end up deciding to try to protect him there. But I am pretty low. I don't remember if I get caught here. I think I end up living. Yeah, we do end up living. Get the flash hook on the Varus. Probably not needed, but, you know, style points, always important when you're playing a champion like Thresh. You know, you got to hit as many flash hooks as possible. Otherwise, what are you doing? And yeah, I mean, we pretty much just use this Baron to probably end the game. I low-key forgot, but I assume we end the game here. Since we have a pretty, you know, we have 3 inhibs at this point. We have Baron for 15 more seconds, so either we end the game or we get Elder and then we win after that, I would assume. But you never really know. You know, maybe we throw this game and I just forgot. Oh yeah, we end the game here. So we'll be making support content until we hopefully get Sovereign. I think we have about 2 weeks. This would be my 4th Sovereign account if we get it, so that's kind of the goal. I don't think I'm going to get 5 Sovereign accounts, but 4, I think is possible. We're 74 marks by the time this stream ended. That guy was 75. I think I lost a couple games after that. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was useful to you in some way, shape, or form, and I'll see you in the next video.